Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And today we have a really special guest for you. We had hoped to bring you this podcast sooner, but it wasn't possible. So we are doing a remembrance podcast, really in honor of Remembrance Day, but also to recognize the amazing men and women, particularly women, who serve the country that we are living in, which is the United Kingdom, but also all over the world, to protect freedom and to keep people safe. And Kelley Austin is one of our amazing alumni who also has a military background before she came into the social media world. So Kelley, tell your what was your career like before you came into social media?
Well, finished in my military career, finished in January 2020. So before that, I'd served 22 years in the Air Force as an RAF medic. And the first the first like 16 or so years were fine because it's just me. And then I became a mum, and then I was like, oh my goodness. So trying to juggle being a mum and the need for that, as well as trying to do this career that is not, well, it would be 8 to 5, but not a 9 to 5 job. It's not it's an all over the place job. So it was very challenging, extremely challenging. Trying to juggle all of that and the stresses that come with trying to still keep your career and become a new mum to then 2 boys was eventful.
And what was your plan? I mean, were you in this? So you were in the military, in the Air Force for 22 years as a medic, and would you have wanted to stay in it if you could, or was it time to move on when the children came along? What was the plan?
Because of the length of time I'd done, it was all gearing towards pensionable age, in the sense of the military pensionable age. And when you complete your 22, you immediately get on to a pensionable income every month. You get a gratuity package as well. And it was like, I haven't got the means to leave now because I've done so much time in that if I leave now, then I'm going to lose the pension. Well, I'll get the pension at pensionable age, normal, statutory pensionable age, but I'd lose the gratuity. I would lose so much. So I had to stay in to get a better life for after. But staying in meant it wasn't as stressful as it could have been. It became very stressful when my youngest child was diagnosed with autism, and then life became extremely challenging. And then not only trying to be a mum of 2 boys, it was being a mum of 2 boys with one with exceptional needs. And you're having had the first one go through school and everything be fine and normal school traumas, to having a second one that couldn't be in the school that we thought and couldn't have the support structure that we thought the other one could, was horrible. It was so devastating for him, because it's like, well, I can't create a normal for him and still be in the military and do everything. It was like being in 3 places. I needed to be at home to be with him because he couldn't be at school, but I needed to be at work to make it work. So we had a home still, that we had my pension, had gratuity and all this, as well as being a mum, a normal mum, for want of a better description. It was
Wow.
awful. It was a horrible place to be. So up until that point, it was all right, until demands got too demanding.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think it's important to tell that story because you're not the only woman in the military that has to deal with the challenges of being a mother and being in the military. And then on top of that, being a mother of a child with some autism diagnosis. So that sort of sets the scene as to where you were. So you got to your 22 years, you made it to the 22 years. And then what? What were you thinking? What were you going to do next?
Well, I must say that the only reason I got to my 22 was I had some really fantastic support of some family, my mother-in-law, my aunt, and sadly my nan, who's now passed. If it wasn't for those 3 coming and staying with us and looking after Joshua to enable me to do that, it wouldn't have happened. I genuinely don't know where I would have been. So I'm eternally grateful for those amazing people. But I left, and he got into a specialist school. So everything stopped. All the stress stopped because the military went. Joshua got into a specialist school, and then the demand just went. Whew, It just went. Just everything that I was stressing about and trying to make work went away. But then I lost my community because I wasn't a wife of, because a lot of a partner of, those people have their community within the home structures. I didn't have that because I was the one in the military. I didn't have my community in the military because I wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Dear friends were working and or live miles away. So I lost a huge sense of purpose. So I became a really full-on mum, which was great because I had the time, but I lost my identity, I lost me, I lost career focus. I mean, because I had the gratuity and the pension and everything, money wasn't the worst subject that I needed to solve. I was okay, but I had no purpose, no anything. And a good friend, Maria, came to me and she was talking about setting up a coaching business, and she wanted to do for women specifically, veterans, because they are when you think of veterans, people think of someone who's like in their late 80s, who served in the wars or a career or this or that. And then you've even now, like the young guys that have gone through, it's very hard to think of them as veterans. But as a woman, like wearing my badges, wrong side, wearing my badges and things, people think that you're wearing them because of a father that died or a brother or this. But I've got, I earned my medals. So she wanted to get the support women from that sort of background. And she's like, you like social media, you like doing all this business, come on, let's see if we can get something together. So I was like, right, what do I do? And she had done the boot camp with yourselves. And she said, go have a look at this. It's really, I really liked it. You have a look. So when I look, I thought, oh, this is great. Did the boot camp. Oh, this is really great.
And by the boot camp, you mean our social media superhero boot camp. So she had done the social media superhero boot camp, and then she said you should do it too, which is so cool. I love that.
I know. And then so I was like, right, I've got a bit of money that I can invest. So let me buy the investment. Let me go into it full on, and let's do it. And then she wasn't. I should have really consulted with her. She wasn't at a place at that point she didn't really have all her ducks in a row. So she was like, oh my God, you spent all this money and I don't know if I'm going to do this yet. I don't know. And I was like, oh no, now what do I do? And I thought, something, that's fine, because she's such an amazing, and she has gone on to do an amazing coaching business. And
the funny thing is, you were on one of the live calls yesterday. I had 3 people resign from positions yesterday, not at TechPixies, but 2 people on live calls wrote resignation letters. And then a couple hours later, I got a message through WhatsApp from someone saying, I resigned. I listened to one of your things and I just had to resign. Like, oh my God. And there is so much, you sort of feel like you have responsibility for that person, but actually one of the things that my job as a coach is to do is to help someone make a move that they've always wanted to do. I'm not pushing them to do a move, and in fact, if either one of the people on the live call had said, no, I really can't do this right now, then I wouldn't have pushed them. They really wanted to do it. They just needed someone there to hold their hands.
Exactly.
And it's so interesting, because I think that's that's why it doesn't surprise me why she's a good coach, because actually she's
a really good coach.
She did was help you to make a decision that was in your best interest, that so I love that. And I think it is funny though, as a coach, because you do really encourage people to make decisions that they really want to make themselves. And it's you have to get them to a place where they make the decision, but you set up the environment where they make the decision that's optimal for them. And that sometimes they just have to jump and the net will be there, but you have to let go of the results and know that it's going to work out, that your job is to facilitate that jump. I love it. So she helped you to make the decision to come into the training program. And okay. And then what happened? I know the story, guys. I just want Kelley to tell
it. Bless. So Maria, she felt a huge, like you said, a huge sense of responsibility. She's like, oh my gosh. And then she said, something, if nothing else, you'll gain something from it. So I can feel at peace for the fact that you jumped and all the rest of it. And she was so right. I really did. Because we then hit COVID. So that was July 21. But I'd been doing all the free stuff beforehand. And then we hit COVID and I was like, oh my gosh, how do I create this community? And then that's when I joined officially, and I was like, oh, I've got a virtual community of hundreds of women, and they're all very similar ages, and it doesn't matter if they're not. It's all this. And I really loved the ethos and the way that TechPixies runs itself. So you've got obviously the front of house, which is lovely and works and all the rest of it. But the inside community, when your people are responding, and it's not just the TechPixie person, it's the community are responding to what you're saying or giving you answers to your questions and that. And I was like, oh, I want to do this job. I want to do this. And I think I'd gone on to do Dream Builders. I think I had a bit of a crisis of faith. And I was like, I can't be a social media manager. There's too many of them. They're too amazing. And what the hell do I know? And we had a one-to-one, and you're like, well, yes, there's thousands of social media managers, but how many of them are any good? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. She said, how many people are doing it for themselves and don't know how to do it or haven't got the time? And I was like, oh, I also don't know the answer. But then you recommended, because I was such in a quandary of where am I going in life? What am I doing?
Yeah, you hit a real and I think when you say crisis of faith, it's that crisis of self-belief. It's
100%.
You learned all these skills, you loved the learning part, but then you got stuck on the actual, because you'd done all the work, you just had not crossed the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I didn't know what to do with that. Once I got there, I was like, so I think I was self-sabotaging.
And that's a good point. Like for a lot of people, they get so close and then actually they self-sabotage and don't finish, because if they finish, they got to do something with it. And I mean, we just had a progression call this last week with someone who's 76.66% the way to this qualification. And all she's got to do is finish the last like 23.33%, if I've done my math correctly. And, it was, but she was almost at the edge of quitting, even though she was so close to the finish line. And I think that does happen a lot. It's like, if I get this, then this has to happen in my life. And actually the reality is, if you get it, you don't have to be a social media manager, but it's getting to the finish line that's important at the end of the day. And so we did have a conversation, and we decided that it might be best if you did the life coaching program to get that self-belief, to then go back and finish the social media program. And that's happened not just with you, but there's been several TechPixies who've started out in the social media program. They've gone to life coaching program. They've gone back to the social media program. And we've been very flexible and worked with people where they're at, depending on what they need at the time and how they so you did the Dream Builder program. What did that do for you? What did the vision workshop and the Dream Builder program give you?
Self-belief. That it was I mean, I've got confidence in certain areas of my life, and I don't question those areas. I'm all right in there, and not in an arrogant way. It's just like, okay, I can deal with this, that's fine. But when it comes to, because the military cushions you so much, and you've got so much, even if you mess up beyond all belief, you will somehow be figured out. Not necessarily you yourself figures it out, someone will do that for you, either through discipline or through retraining. Or you don't really have to have a huge amount of, oh, my life, I need to sort this out, because they want to get you back on track really quickly.
That's really
so when you're on your own, you're like, oh, I've got to do this. I've actually got to be an adult, and I've actually got to be in the real world. And you don't appreciate what that means. So when I was going through Dream Builder, I was like, well, I've done successful career. I've done that. So why can't I do this? And I think it was I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to go, something, I have got these skills, and if you want them, I can do them. If you don't want them, that's also fine. But I didn't have that belief in myself that I was any good at what I was attempting to do. So going through Dream Builder was like, okay, let's just go back to zero, go back to massive basics, and then, like you say, evidence-based stuff. How have you been able to do this? What did you do there? And in giving little evidence pockets of, okay, well, you did sort that out, or you did get Joshua into into a school that was right for him, and everything, like you said, is figure outable. But I was like, I don't know how to get there. So going through the Dream Builder process was really emotional. I stumbled on the forgiveness part, which was what I couldn't get past that. So we started again. I was like, right, let's try again. And then I did it, and it was just so amazing. And I made some really, really amazing connections with people. But it was more connections with myself. I was like, okay, now let's come back with fresh eyes and let's start this journey again. Because I really thought, well, I'll come get the qualification, that's fine, but I'm not going to use it. But I want to be in the community. And then I came out of dream mode and I was like, but I really like TechPixies. One of the things you have to do is a vision board. And it's like 3 years from now, so this was 2021, 3 years from now, where you're going to be and what do you want to achieve? And one of the things was I want to work for TechPixies. And that was one of my things.
That was one of the things on your vision board.
Yeah. And I was like, I like the ethos. I like the way of being. I've come from very many different boss environments. Some have been amazing and some have been absolutely awful. And I like the way that TechPixies does their stuff. I like how they support each other from a work perspective, and I like how they support the community. And I like the drive. I like it. So, right, how do I do that? So, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. And then we had another call a little while later, and then you told me that you had an internship. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know about this. And you offered me to come join and do the internship. And it was 12 weeks. And that was like, I was so scared. So scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to break the business and I'm going to post something that's wrong and the business will just fall and collapse and it'll all be my fault. I don't know how much power I thought I had, but I was just like, oh no, it's going to be destroyed. Oh, I'll get goosies now. I was so terrified. Knowing what I know now, there's absolutely no ways I could have at all done that. But I was like, oh my God. But did the 12 weeks, which went really, really well. Got offered another 12 weeks. I was like, oh, yay. Grabbed that, did that, which was really great. And then you offered me some work. I was
Yeah,
like,
and it was amazing. Right about the time that the internship was ending, we had an agency client. We don't usually do agency work. That was something I did way back in the past, but we had a client who really loved our company and what we were doing and really wanted to hire us to do their social media, to do her social media. And I hesitated because I knew I didn't have the capacity to do what what really needed to be done to get it up to speed. But then we decided we would, because you'd done so well in the internship, we'd have you work on this project. And, it requires copywriting and video editing and like all of these skills, which then turns out you really love working with YouTube and you're really good at it. In fact, we gave Kelley the task of, we kept getting all of these people. Oh, by the way, Kelley, people have stopped emailing us. This is sort of fun. Yes. So we gave Kelley the task. So just to land the plane on the internship. So we said to Kelley, we'd like you to work on this account. And, it's pulling a lot of pieces together. You got to do copy, you got to do video editing, you got to do LinkedIn, you got to create articles, you got to, and it's got to go out every week, rain or shine. You've got to do the analytics and all that stuff. So that's what we said and asked her to do. And you've done a fantastic job. You're coming up on, we've done it over a year now. You've been working on this one client. She's very happy. She loves what you're doing for her. She's had some great results. And anyway, so Kelley loves YouTube. She's really great at it. And so we said to Kelley, look, we're getting emails like every single day from people saying they can fix our YouTube SEO because our YouTube SEO is so bad. And, it's ironic. We teach YouTube and, we hadn't taught, this piece was missing, which is great because Kelley's going to release she's been working on a little bonus to release to our YouTube people, to, YouTube course about how to do all of what she's doing. But you've managed to get some of our videos up to 100 out of 100 on the SEO side of YouTube.
Oh, it's so exciting. I was like, these people emailing, I was like, go away, you're nicking my job.
Yeah, and it was so funny because they didn't want to show us how to do it. They just wanted to do it. And I love your resourcefulness, because what did you do when I asked you to do that? Who did you reach out to? Who helped you?
The amazing Kirsty. Oh, she's so amazing. So Kirsty is a TechPixie and she does camera confidence workshops, and she's just YouTube connoisseur of life. So I was like, Kirsty, you need to help me.
Yeah, this is Kirsty Vandenbulk, and she is absolutely amazing.
She is, and she was so amazing. She gave up time just because I'd asked, and that was so important to me. And she really took me through some amazing bits and pieces of what to do and what to implement and how to do it. So it was really, really amazing. So yeah, bless her.
So that
Yeah.
started you out, and then you went and implemented it.
Yeah. So it took a bit of time to get your head around it, but and then it's more now, it's like a challenge. It's like, no, I need higher than that. How do I get the statistics higher? And it's like changing this and that. And the amazing Catherine Conway that also works for TechPixies, she does a lot of the copy, and I was like, I need to change some stuff, I'm really sorry, but do you mind? And she's like, no, it's fine. I felt like, oh, I'm stepping on the copywriter's toes and I'm so sorry, but it needed to work in a different way, and now she's doing it that way, so it's like, oh, it all works.
That's amazing. I love this, and that adaptability has been huge. So you've been working for TechPixies as a contractor, as sort of our head of community management, and you now oversee the internship program, because what we found was that Kelley was also a great manager, leader, and was able to bring people on board and make sure they got a really good start. And it meant that Catherine and I, because we were the two of us sort of run the business, the rest of the business, we didn't have as much time to devote to getting someone onboarded in the intern capacity. So you did that, and then you've now done that for a few of our interns, and so that's been a role that you've had a little bit of management responsibility in, but you've also had the responsibility of making sure stuff gets done and gets up, and if someone can't do it, you do it. And it's a really it's a full-on experience across all of the disciplines of just not only creating content, putting the content out there, but then managing all those stuff in the background that people don't realize. I think that's the number one thing people say when they do an internship with us is they had no idea what's happening in the background.
No, this is it. And then every time I've had an onboarding conversation with whoever's coming up, it's like, right, okay, this is your kind of who you need to contact first, and the last person to contact if anything goes wrong is Joy, because if you have a look at the calendar, she's like here, there, and it's just like, how did Catherine and Joy do all of this? But that's why there's so many lovely people in the background that make it work and make it be seamless, and it's so that from an outsider looking in, you feel that you're heard, that you're listened to, that someone's got your back, or someone's responding to you, or if someone has responded to you and then you need further support. Everybody's always talking in a positive way to how best to make this work, and it's just I think I've had 3 intern onboarding conversations now, and each and every single one of them have come off and gone, I just feel like I am in the workplace I should have been in for forever. It's like that I'm supported, I'm listened to, I understand what I'm doing. It's just a lovely space to be in, even though we're not in each other's space. We're all virtual, which is another concept. But the fact that you feel like you're in a workplace that is so supportive, and coming from very different backgrounds of different working methods, and some are great and some are awful, to feel valued is just immense. And it's not from I need to now tell you that you're valued, and I need to make sure that everything has come from a very authentic space, and that's what makes people want to actually do the very best. And it's not just like sitting on the laurels. It's like, okay, now how do I move forward? And as you know, I've had some stumbling blocks and gone, oh, Joy, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just get, okay, let's just sit down, let's have a chat about it, let's put it back into basics and step it out. But to feel that confidence to be able to go, right, I have lost the plot, I do not know how I'm moving forward, and to have conversations with you and with Catherine and go, right, okay, let's figure this out, and is to have that safe space is just, it's immense.
Now you don't just work for TechPixies though. You've picked up. So let's talk about it. So you started the social media program. You got really close to finishing it, but didn't quite finish it. You did the Dream Builder program, and again, in that forgiveness area, it was tough. And then you redid that, and you got through it. One of the things I love about you is your resilience, right? You just keep trying until you get through it. So you got through Dream Builder, and then you went back and you finished your social media management certification and then you've been working for us, and you've got some clients.
I do. So October the 31st last year was when I officially went and made Kelley Austin Media. So that's like the official date. And I thought, okay, let's try this. I feel the right amount of nervousness that this is my right direction.
Yes.
So let's just go. Let's just go. Like you said, at the end of the day, it's just highlighting to me that this needs to move forward, and I need to go forward, and it's all good. So like, oh, okay, let's just do it. And so technically, I had yourselves, and then because I was helping with the internship and management, and then I had your private client. So I thought, okay, that's two. I've got two clients. That's great. Right, now let's just go. And it's been so nice because I haven't put myself out there in the sense of, okay, this is what I can do. I've just gone, okay, this is my opinion. And when people come and ask me stuff, it's like, well, this is my opinion. This is what I would do. You know, you like it or you don't. And people have found me, which has been amazing. And the most amazing situations have come about from the beautiful Carolyn Boddington. She's just amazing. And I joked with her the other day. I was like, "You're kind of like touting me for business. This is just so good." Because she, bless her, gave up some time and really helped me with landing page stuff that I was trying to sort out, and I just couldn't figure out what I was doing. So she gave me some time, and then off the back of that, she's asked me to do some stuff for her, and then she's referred me to other people. So yeah, and you referred me to someone, and so I've got officially 4 clients now, with a prospect of another 3. So it's huge. It's I couldn't explain how this would have happened a year ago, 2 years ago. Absolutely.
And I'm curious, what else was on your vision board when you put your vision board together for your 3-year vision, which really was 2021 to 2024?
Yeah. So one of those was to work in TechPixies. I wanted that environment. One was to have a home. Now the home definition was a bought house that money had bought, and one was to be in a happy and supportive relationship. At that point, I was in my first rental accommodation outside the RAF. That had come to a very dramatic end because they decided when the COVID and everything went wrong with mortgages and all that stuff happened, they wanted to sell instead of extend leases and things.
And
so
you I think, were you interning with us when that all happened? Because I remember that.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do every week, and I think this is a little secret to the way we work at TechPixies, and I got this actually from a mentor way back in like 2019, 2020. So, you know, before Kelley came on board. But we, every single week with every member on our team, we have a meeting. So it's either a group meeting or it's an individual meeting. It depends on the structure of what team you're working on, et cetera. There's about 22 people involved at TechPixies. And so Kelley comes to the social media team meeting, and so does the copywriter and the designer. And so we have a meeting there, and then our videographer has a meeting with our copywriter and she's our communications manager. But we asked 2 questions. What was a personal win last week and what was a business win last week? And the reason we ask those 2 questions is it gives us a really big insight into what's going on in someone's life, right? You know, if someone's passed away and they've had to go to a funeral, or if you know, other things are going on, you know, and that's where we see the good things. We see the I made it through the week. This was a tough week. And then the compassion's there. So we've always done that. In fact, I think we're at like 187 weeks as a team of doing that exercise. So we have also a record going back years. I mean, almost, you know, 187 weeks is almost 4 years. We have years of records and we have a lot of longevity. Most people on our team stay on our team. There've been unfortunate times where we've had to let people go, or where people have, you know, obviously moved on because they've got, you know, they've got other things that they want to do, et cetera, or, you know, whatnot. But I think the important thing is we've tracked that all along, and we know what's going on in people's lives. So I knew that the house thing was happening for you, and you continued to work with us. But let's talk about how that worked out, because that was pretty cool.
It was. So basically, it was a case of where we thought we were going to be another 3 years in this accommodation, which was perfect location for schools and the boys and space wise, it wasn't going to happen. So I got told in the November, I think August or October of 2022, and we had to be out by the February. So that was our 3-year point of 2023. And I was like, how am I going to make this work? How is this going to, because I need to stay in my area because of schooling. The the eldest still hadn't had his high school application sorted yet. So we had to stay in the area for him. The criteria was stay in the area, 3-bed or more, because my boys can't share because they can't. And accommodation that can take dogs, because the pets thing is changing, but a lot of rentals at this time were not accepting animals. So I was like, how do I make this? Those are my gold standards. How do I make it work? And I just was like searching every single day on all the sites. And then I was like, okay, do you know something? That's my gold standard. Let me just stay in the area and have animals, so we can make it work. And so I was trying to like, okay, let's not give the universe too many things to think about. Let's just stay in the area and have some pets. We'll figure out everything else.
You had a clear vision of what you wanted. You wanted to be in the area and you wanted to keep your pets, which is so important.
It was like, well, the kids are coming with, obviously. Yeah, I don't know how we'll make it work somehow. You know, if they have to share, we're all sharing one room, we'll sort it out. And then an advert came up on a website, and I was like, oh my God, there's the house. There it is. I applied. I think I was the first person to apply for it. We came and did came and did a look around, and I was like, it's perfect. And at that point, it was no to pets. And I was like, but they're therapy dogs. I did buy them for that reason, but they haven't quite turned out the way because my autistic son does not like the dogs. Anyway. Therapy for other family members. And so the estate agent, did such an amazing job. And because the law is changing anyway, it was like, you're either going to have to accept this, or you're going to have to come up with some really good reasons to not accept these animals. However, they are not crazy all over the place. Anyway, so it's a 3-bed, it takes animals, and it's in our village. So it's everything we needed it to be. So I was like, okay. Then I was like, right, what else can we sort out now?
Yeah, there's a third piece of that vision board.
There is a third piece, and the other one was to have a happy and a relationship which was equal. And you're never going to be 50-50, but there needs to be equal respect. Yes. And I hadn't had that, and that's what I wanted. And my then ex, who's the father of my kids, Billy, we went through some really, really massive ups and downs, separated for a very long time. And he went and did some real big soul searching and did a lot of stuff on his part. I did stuff on my part. And we just kept meeting in the middle somehow as it was going. We're always going to have contacts. Obviously, we've got joint custody. So we were always seeing each other regularly anyway. But it went from the dynamics of having to sort the boys out to getting back to being friends again. We were always very good friends when we were talking. We were always very good friends, to a point of I actually was starting to respect you, and you starting to respect me. And then we got to a really nice place. I said, actually, I really like you, and I really like you. So it was really nice. So we now live in our house. We're both signees we're both tenancy agreements. It's our house. So the house that I wanted in that first vision board was a home, which is what I've got. So we still want to obviously buy our own place. But back then it was a very single mum, 2 kids vision. And now it's a family of 4. And how are we moving forward? So, yeah.
Well, and just so everyone knows, I found out about this on the personal wins.
Yes.
I can't remember how you snuck it in. You're like, and I've got a new relationship. Well, it wasn't new. It was like, my relationship's going well. And I'm like, hang on.
When did that happen?
I need to fill in the gaps here. And that's part of so I think if you're listening to this, and you manage people, I think one of the things, and it's not like, I mean, Kelley does stuff I don't know how to do. So it's not like I know I'm the boss and whatever, but we work together as a team. But I think if you are working in a team, it's very important to know what's going on in people's lives and to know, because and we talk about this a lot of TechPixies, the personal wins often come from getting through adversity, and actually, you might have had a tough week, but you got through it, and that's actually the personal win. So by knowing what's going on personally, by knowing what's going on in the business, the other thing too is the business wins give us a lot of insight into, oh gosh, we forgot about that, or we need to, oh, I need to follow up on that, or so it's a combination of the two. But I would just say that's been really great, because I think I would have missed a lot of that if we didn't have that built into our ethos and our way of working, because that's the sort of stuff that people don't talk about unless you make an active effort to do that. And quite frankly, I'm very red. I have a bracelet. We did years ago, we did like a team thing and sort of worked out what our characteristics were. I have very little blue on my characteristics, and red is very much like straight in, like detailed, like let's just, and no little chitter chatter. And it's my strongest one. I'm very straight and straight on. And the blue is the person who's really good at listening and connecting and spending time and, reading all the little like fine lines. I'm just not that type of person. So building those structures in helped me to connect with the team much better. But also it was fantastic to sort of go, wow, look at what's happened. And, you're still not even at your 3 years. You're just only 2 years into that vision. So a lot, as a lot can happen in a year. There you go from having no clients, having 4 clients in a year, to having a relationship that wasn't working, to having a relationship that's not only working, but thriving and back together, being in a rented accommodation that wasn't a home, and now being in an accommodation that is a home. I mean, this is the cool thing about doing the work. And you did the work. You did the work on the life coaching side of things. You've done the work on the social media coaching side of things, and you're really a leader within our community. And I think also you're a leader within the military community as well. You've shown what can happen, when a woman is in the military, comes out of the military, and can really reinvent herself. And I think that's amazing. So I think, first of all, thank you for your dedication to the country. That's important to acknowledge, for making it to the end of those 22 years, but then also reinventing yourself and recreating a life, or creating a life that you love, building a life that you love. Do you think you're now in our Business Beyond Social program? So you're one of our, sort of done everything, which I absolutely love, and is still in the community, still doing the work. So you've done Dream Builder, you've done social media management certification, you sort of did those together, and then now you're doing Business Beyond Social, which is about building your business. How has Business Beyond Social impacted you, and your ability to go from having a couple clients to having more clients?
I think the ethos behind Business Beyond Social is exactly when you've done all the front work, which getting the qualifications, getting the understanding, learning platforms, and that. This is the nitty gritty. This is the stuff that, okay, now how am I going to keep it going? How am I going to keep the momentum going? For example, getting a mailing list. Okay, well, that's fine, but how do I do that? And then how do I store it? So then learning MailerLite, and then learning all the stuff that comes with creating a business, so you can create a business, that's fine, which I've done that, but now how do I keep it? So it's like the finance side of it, the copywriting side of it, everything to do the operations side of it. I kind of understand, but I don't know it. And this part now is exactly what I need to learn, to then be able to go, okay, that's fine. Okay, you want a mailing list. I know now how to do that. And then, and then coming back onto it. So it's making so many strings to the bow now. And it's also closing up a lot of don't know how to do it loops that I might have had before, because it's like, this is exactly what I need now to move, not only just to move the business forward, but to move my understanding forward. So it's coming exactly the right time. So it's like, boom, 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 done. Now let's motivate and let's get this business really rocking. It's so good.
The other 2 clients you really picked up came out of Business Beyond Social and the Mastermind, someone who had sort of done Business Beyond Social already and had moved on to the mastermind. So I do think it's, there's a lot of synergy. People work together, they connect with each other, they hire each other within our community. It's super, super important. You've got one of your biggest fans here, Kelley, watching you live, Clara Carswell. So let's talk about Clara for a second. So you could have just submitted your social media management report on TechPixies, but you decided you were going to support someone within the community. So talk about that.
Yeah. So to get your certification, you have to produce work, obviously. You have to produce evidence of that you understand what you're doing. So how did you get somebody's socials from, say, 0 to 100 or whatever? What did you implement? What strategy did you implement? And there's work to do for it, which had technically been done for the private client, but it wasn't my work. It'd been done as a team, and I definitely was I was involved, but I didn't orchestrate it all because I didn't know what I was doing. But I could still use that as evidence to now know what I'm doing. But I didn't feel that was authentic enough for me. So I met Clara. She's a tech pixie, and she'd done. I think she'd posted something in the private hub, a poster I think she was trying to do, and I was like, she was really struggling with Canva. And I was like, do you want me to help you? Can I help you? Just get some colors in there or do something. So we worked together for a little while, just sorting that out, me supporting her. And I was like, can I use you as my guinea pig? Would you mind? And I wanted to use her as how can I support her to make do my report that I needed to do, but to support her to get her to a level of understanding that she can then go forward and do her own. And she's such an amazing, beautiful person, gorgeous in every way. And now she streams ahead of me in MailerLite. I'm like, what's happening?
I love that though. Yeah, but that's so. And when you do the social media management certification, I know we're sort of jumping around different places here, but I think it's that we've covered all of the different programs that we run at TechPixies. And what I love is that they build on each other. You can start in one place and end in another. But Business Beyond Social is sort of the pinnacle, and then we've got the mastermind for people who are 50,000 and above, or looking to be earning 50,000 and above. But the interesting thing about that environment is that you're connecting with other people, and you're supporting them, and you're helping them to get where they want to go, but at the same time you're getting where you want to go. So you wanted to do your report, but you wanted to do it on somebody else. So you put together a plan that takes about 4 weeks. You execute that plan, that takes about 4 weeks. Then you report on that plan, that takes about 4 weeks. And so you were able to do that for Clara and also for yourself.
And like you said, it's yes, I'm supporting her, but gosh, she gave me so much back in return. And I think that's the whole thing about it, is like people give up their time for you, and time is so precious, that they can slot you into their lives and go, okay, well, let's work it out, like Carolyn did for me, like you've done for me several times. And it's just like, well, you feel so like warm and fuzzy because someone's given up that space for you, and you're like, okay, now how can I give it back? And it's not because, oh, you gave me something, I give you it back. It's genuine, right? How can I support you? What can I do? And it's just, it's priceless, absolutely priceless.
Did you have any major discoveries when you did your report? Did you have any major findings on the work you did?
I think for me, it was more I knew what I was talking about.
The rubber stamp, you know what you're doing.
I think you kind of, you're jack of all trades in the military to a certain degree, and you can put a pretty bow on a lot of things, and you can kind of talk your way through stuff. But there gets to a certain point where you can't do that anymore, and you do actually have to know what you're doing. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the more I've spoken to potential clients, the more I've gone, oh, I do actually understand what I'm saying. And it's not just like, okay, I need to say this. It's like, I do understand it, and I do get it, and I do understand the algorithms behind it, and the statistics, and the reasons why you need to do things in a certain way, because the numbers will speak for themselves. And that was so like a huge amount of gratification. I was like, I've done it. I get it. I understand now.
I love
So that
that.
was not being a jack of all trades, being
Yeah,
qualified in
really
one.
knowing what you were, knowing it, like you said, and that's what, now you're in BBS. It's like I'm learning it. I don't know it, and you want to know it, and now you've got that knowledge with social media. Claire Louise, one of our favorite interns. We don't have favorites, but if we had favorites, no, I'm teasing. She would be one of them. She's she's listening, and she says, "Great episode, so much love for Kelley." And Claire Louise did an amazing job as an intern at TechPixies. And we would have hired you on the spot if we could have. So that's the hardest part about the interns. They do such a great job. And it just happened that when Kelley was there and she was a perfect fit, we just kept extending. We're like, okay, fine, you can stay. And also the company got
not leaving.
Yeah, we could keep running. It's so hard because you get these amazing interns who've been obviously well trained through our training program, and you want to keep them on. But we know Claire Louise is going on to do amazing things as well. But the other thing you've learned to do, and then we'll wrap up, is you've also learned how to use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is like, do we, don't we, and really, I think if you're not using ChatGPT as a social media manager, you're probably not leveraging your efficacy, shall we say. So how have you used ChatGPT, and how have you found that useful?
So for me, it was when we'd go and do copy for the YouTube videos, example, or making articles on LinkedIn and that, you have your words already, you have the premises of what you're going to talk about, and you write it all down, obviously, and stick it back through. But before you do the ChatGPT thing, you need to make sure that it knows the client, or the you. So who are you, what you're doing, and give it a really good context of who you're coming from, what voice you're coming from, and then you stick your copy through. And it just, as long as you do that, it can be really, really, really helpful. If you don't feed it the information it needs, it doesn't work very well, in my opinion. But it does, even if you don't use that version, it really helps to create more of an insight into a different way of wording things. Like I'll put something through and I'll go, right, I need this as an article for LinkedIn. And then it comes in a very specific structure. And I'll be like, okay, well, can we make it a bit more energizing, or can we make it a bit more lighthearted? And it's really, really intuitive with the more information you give, and it really helps to help leverage what you're doing into a better way, I think. And then you can obviously then manipulate it how you want afterwards.
Yeah, and that actually, we ended up using it to save time, because it was taking us a lot of time to produce copy from scratch for all of these. So with our private client, Kelley takes a video every week and puts it on YouTube, and then embeds it in a LinkedIn article, and then we publish the LinkedIn article and we pin it to the top of her LinkedIn profile. And that whole process Kelley manages from start to finish, including the thumbnail, what it looks like, all of the text that goes, all the copy that goes on YouTube, all the copy that goes on LinkedIn, the hook that we use on the picture, the hook we use on LinkedIn. So all of that's managed by Kelley. And actually what ChatGPT did was just cut down a lot of the time it was taking to find the right copy. We were going back and forth. There were like 3 of us involved. And it was like, this is just like taking so much time. And the client wasn't paying us for that time. So we had to find a way to cut down on our time and speed up our process. And that's how we did it. So, that was a really good move on our part. And we were just starting to use ChatGPT. And I think there's a lot of scope, and you're right. It's the prompts you put into ChatGPT that matter and that help you get what you need on the flip side. We also made a really important decision. And I think this is really, for those of you listening that are like, care about social media strategy. We've been tracking for a year what's going on across LinkedIn, YouTube, and X for this one client, or Twitter/X. Mm-hmm. And it became really apparent that Twitter/X just was not working for them. And we because we know our analytics and because we analyze our analytics, we made a decision that we were going to propose to the client to cut Twitter/X and then double down our efforts on like YouTube SEO and creating this newsletter on LinkedIn. And that was a decision we made that was data driven. And I think it was the right decision. But we have literally dropped X/Twitter for this client because it just wasn't working. It feels like all the changes that have been made in the last year to Twitter have really sort of failed Twitter and the people using it.
I think it for sure, because we used Twitter as a like a signposting. So you'd put some sort of snippet of what the article in LinkedIn or the stuff on YouTube, and you'd link it and you move it across, and you do different ways of doing it. And before, it was great because you would have, clickability was great because you would come across from Twitter X to YouTube or to the article in LinkedIn, and then over a sudden you're just like, no matter how you did it, which way you prettied it up, which bow you put on it, nothing was changing, and like it was just like plummeting. It was like, this is so much
And yet
effort.
our strategies on LinkedIn and YouTube were taking off, which is also
Yeah.
a really good piece of advice, that you shouldn't just rely on one channel. Because if you have one network, like if we were just relying on Twitter/X, that would have the whole work that we were doing we would have thought we were failing. Actually, our content was thriving on YouTube and LinkedIn. It just wasn't thriving on Twitter.
Yeah, it was dying, but I don't know why.
Yeah. But that's a really good insight. And one of the things we do at our social media management certification is make sure that people are using 2 networks, not just one network. Because what we found is people will gravitate towards a network they're comfortable with, not necessarily the network their clients are on. But then also by having those 2, you get a feel of, actually, is one network better for me, for my content or not? And by doing 3 for this particular client, we really were able to identify, yep, this one's just not going to work. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to double down on these other 2, and even consider, maybe possibly TikTok or something else, because the client we have is probably a really good client for TikTok. So we'll see. But I think, anyway, I think it's a great discussion to have as well around what social media networks really work and don't work. And it's going to be very unique to your client, but we did have 3 running, 1 totally failed. And we tried strategy changes and everything. And it's like, yep, that's just not going to work for us. So let's focus on the ones that do. And that's the big advantage of having at least 2 to work on, or more than 2. Cool. So Kelley, you've done Business Beyond Social. You are doing Business Beyond Social. You've done social media management certification. You've done Dream Builder. You have been a member of our team. You are a member of our team. What would you say to someone that's on the edge of, do I do TechPixies or not, in some form or another? I mean, what would be your advice and your opinion?
I think if people are sitting on the fence of because it's a career change, then you've got nothing to lose to do it anyway. Even if you just gain the qualifications and you don't move forward with it, well, then that's a choice. But what you're going to gain, not just from the educational point of view, the learning, is the community. And I can't rave about the community more if I tried. And that for me made everything else possible, because I felt so supported and so kind of hugged virtually. And that's what made me want to stay. And I was like, right, I don't want to leave the situation. I want to stay in it. How can I do it? And it was just, the courses just came very naturally in where I was mentally at the time. But I think people should just go for it. You've got nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose. And there's so many different programs. There's so many pay it forward stuff. There's so much support from all different walks of life that you can't fail.
Well, our pay it forward idea actually came from that private client. She said, if you believe, yeah, I know, it's not funny. She said, if you believe in your content or your program that much, you should give it away for free. And I'm like, I'm not giving it away for free. And she said, okay, well, but she said, just give people longer payment plans, and they, so that they can afford it. And we do that for people, who are on universal credit, LGBTQ plus, BAME, over the age of 60, people we know are not in the same financial position as they would like to be. We get them going. And then once they're going, people come back and they pay it in full, and they always pay it off. And, we know that it has an impact. So we are a social enterprise, and about 38% of our students are on those programs. And that a big part of that was, because it wasn't working the way we wanted it to work, and we got some great advice, and we shifted it around, and it was really, really good. Your partner in believing and biggest fan is here, Kelley. Billy's here. Thank you, Billy, for watching and supporting Kelley. And we'll just wrap up on that. Look at all these amazing people watching you, Kelley. Claire Louise says the community is like no other. A family of over 800. Yeah, we're at 898. We're two women away from 900. Yeah, and my big goal was 1,000. So we're 102 women away from my big goal. And Dee says she loves the community. It's like nothing else.
Oh, bless her.
Look at all the community support that came out for you today. Well, Kelley, you're the best. Thank you so much for sharing your story. There were lots of wonderful parts of this story, and the vision board coming to fruition. You've still got a year to go. We'll see what can happen in a year, but so proud of you. And then of course you create a new vision for 3 years from
Yes.
from then or from now, and we just keep going, because you have a proven system of support that you can repeat over and over again to help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah, thank you, Joy. I really just wanted, I know that we always say it, but I am genuinely grateful for the time and effort that you put into TechPixies, not only from the building the courses and the all the tech that comes with that, but just the way that you capture people is just, everyone will say it, but I want you to know it, that it's just, without your vision, none of this would have happened. So there's lots of moving parts, I know that, but thank you so much for what you do. So I really, huge appreciation. Thank you.
Oh, it doesn't. So Kelley's she's got her Zoom set up where when she goes like this, like hearts come out. So we'll have to just imagine the hearts are coming out. Oh, well, that was an hour well spent. And I'm super grateful to you. I remember when I suggested this to you, you were a little bit nervous about it. But I don't think that showed at all today. You were a complete a star, and I'm super grateful to you. All right. Wow. Well, that just warmed my heart. And I always feel like we do interviews at the right time. And I've wanted to tell Kelley's story for a really, really long time. She's a phenomenal woman. She's worked tremendously hard for TechPixies, and also, more importantly, for herself. And so if her story has inspired you and you would like some support, just reach out to us, support@techpixies.com. Happy to jump on a call with you. Happy to figure out what program is the best one for you to start with. We are here for you. And our success is really your success, or your success is our success. It's all one. We want to see you succeed, and we want you to succeed in the best way that works for you. And we've designed our programs to do just that. So if you want to know more about what's going on at TechPixies, go to techpixies.com, reach out to support@techpixies.com. And if this story has inspired you, or if you have a friend who is a woman in the military or has recently left the military and feels the way Kelley felt when she found TechPixies, share this podcast with them. It's really important that we tell stories and hear other people's stories, because that's how we move on as human beings. We get inspired and we recognize if it can happen for her, it can happen for me. So please do share this story with people that you think might benefit from hearing it. As you know, Kelley had a friend who said you should do this boot camp, and it changed Kelley's life. She did the work, of course, and we always say if you do the work works. All right, have a great day, and we'll see you at our next live podcast. By the way, we record our podcast pretty much every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Live on Facebook. So it also goes on to YouTube. It also goes on to X. And LinkedIn. So if you would like to experience the podcast live, 9 o'clock on Tuesdays is generally when we film it. All right. Bye for now. Thanks for listening.